So for the last few months, I've been trying really hard to ignore anything that threatened my peace and joy. And Eric has been leaving very early in the mornings on Mondays to drive to Houston, and multiple times, enough that it became a pattern. The dogs would alert and tell me that there was a person here. They have a different way of doing that. You know, we got these dogs to be guard dogs for a reason, and then what did I do? I went and ignored them. Now, I would go grab my gun and I would go lock the doors, but then I would decide everything was okay and ignore it. And I kind of described it as a feeling of being vulnerable. I didn't want to use the word watched. So earlier this week, the dogs alerted me when I headed out there to feed the horses. And they alerted to the same place they always do, over in there. And I thought it was the neighbor's dog, or I wanted to think that. And I said, "Hi, Hank," but Hank never came out. Hank is his name. And I got a yucky feeling, but like I had been doing, I just ignored it. And I took off in the Razor, this noisy little vehicle here, because I needed to go check some fence, and I needed to deal with something that had happened the day before. So I was gone for about 45 minutes. I came back in my noisy Razor, and I parked it here. "Hi, Georgia, sweet. You're such a good girl." And that morning, the dogs came with me to feed the animals and to go check fence, which this one never does. She thinks it's her job to protect the house. And this one thinks it's her job to protect me. Good girl, Louise. But I didn't go in this door because it was dead bolted. Because since I'd started feeling vulnerable, I was dead bolting all the doors. So I dead bolted the front as well. And I'd left the back open so that I could get in. So instead of carrying keys and instead of setting the alarm on the house, I just trusted that it was the country and that, I was here, even though I really wasn't here. I was gone for 45 minutes. So I came in this back door. I took my gun belt off because I was carrying that day, and I put it there. And I took my boots off because we're always muddy here. And I walked this way. And what I saw was that this door, which was supposed to look like this with the bolt thrown, because I had been, let's turn some lights on, because I had been down here in our therapy room, and I don't go in here without checking the deadbolt, because I have to zip myself up in that sauna, and I feel very vulnerable, or I get on this inversion board, and I feel very vulnerable. And Eric had also checked it before he left, so we both knew that it was deadbolted. In fact, I'd seen the lock like that. And I'm also used to, I've never called the police for anything before in my entire life. I'm used to things like leaving a door halfway ajar and the air conditioner sucking it open. So, the first thing I think about is, could that have happened? Well, no, that couldn't have happened because it was dead bolted. Could my neighbor, and I use that term loosely, have just poked his head in to say hi and have coffee? Well, no, it's dead bolted. So I knew immediately someone had come in this door, or better put, that they had gone out this door. And my conclusion was they'd come in the door I'd left open and back. And so, because I'm really smart, I shut it and locked it and went and got my stuff and checked a few rooms to see if anybody was still here. I was convinced they weren't, and I decided I was just going to ignore it. And then I started thinking, no, that's a bad idea. So after I'd gotten the sheriff's office and the cops, and Eric was on his way home, and our Marine / volunteer firefighter / handyman George had come, we came back to look around. So we're going to go out the way that the peeper did. And this was the getaway route. There were really hard to decipher tracks through the rocks here. They couldn't do anything with them. But the real giveaway that the police didn't notice, and I didn't notice until later, when I was in my bathroom, which is right here, through that window, and I can look out on here, and I was looking out on here, and I noticed one of these poles had been ripped up and was laying like this. And it only took a second for me to realize, since the pole had been, remember I checked fence this morning, because we'd had an issue with donkeys getting out. So I went and I fixed all the fence, and this was like that. Okay, so it was pushed in, and someone came through and went like that to get under it. And that's what I saw. And about that time, Eric looked out his office window and realized the same thing. We came back here, and there were tracks. And not only were there tracks, but this is hard to see because it's really thick woods. But right back here, there's a ton of tracks. And there's a hole that somebody has made. It's a nest. It's a watching place. There's my bathroom. There's my closet window. Yes, I have a window in my closet. And that's where this person had been. Well, it gets worse. I had found a napkin back here, and there's another way to get in and out of this hidey hole, and it's where we found the tracks exiting from the escape. I'd found a napkin back here in the bush a few months ago, and I told Eric about it, and we talked and decided it must be an animal that dragged it back here. But here's the thing. A wild animal would tear it to shreds, and if there was any food left on it, they'd completely eat it. A domestic, Louise, would have taken it over there to the driveway and shredded it and left it for me. So either way, you wouldn't find an animal dragging a clean napkin into the woods, and there was an empty drink cup there as well, which an animal won't have anything to do with. So what does this tell us? Well, it tells us that I've been ignoring my gut. I've been ignoring my animals. I have these animals for exactly this reason. And I think in life we do this a lot when we want something not to be true, whether it's a problem in a relationship or whether it's a problem with a peep or creep or home invader. We ignore it away to preserve a fiction, the fiction that everything's going to be okay, or is okay. So anyway, the guy ran off, and honestly, the police and we and everybody think it's somebody that's, within walking distance or maybe driving distance and parking and hiding and walking in. But whoever it is, they appear to be coming in the mornings after Eric leaves, and because of that we think they watch him go. Now, one other thing that's kind of crazy is the tracks ultimately led all the way around our property and out a good quarter mile in that direction at the back edge. And there were tracks into the woods, and I've had creepy feelings back there before too, which I've now decided I will never ignore again. So, yes, I know, there's somebody that pulled up, isn't there? So see, the dogs don't lie. Our neighbors just came for the weekend. So we put up all these cameras, 9 cameras. We've changed our security procedures. I'm now locking all the doors and using my security alarm, and I am carrying a wristlet with a key to the barn in the house, and I'm carrying a gun, and I'm shooting my gun to make sure that this person hears that I'm armed. And in fact, on the morning that he last watched me, I was armed. And I'm very grateful that I was, because I feel certain that that was why he ran when I came in the house. Might not have been quite as scared of me if I was not carrying a judge, tourist judge. Anyway, on the wildlife cam that we put up to watch the escape route, it's catching the inside of our pasture and then the back edge outside of it. And for 3 nights in a row and 3 mornings in a row since that time, every single night and morning, Katniss stands with her head over the fence waiting for something. And I believe my animals now. So more to come on this issue. We have some tricks up our sleeve, because as much as I don't want him to come back, I don't want him to do this to anybody else either. And we're hoping like heck we can figure out a way to stop this without anybody being unsafe in the process. So, as you can see, the woods are thick. It's kind of surprising when you find a little nest in the middle of all of that, isn't it? And human footprints.